spiritually refreshed. So now that we're recording, I'm Reverend Christine McFarland, Unity of Springfield. Today we are on our quest journey. And today we're going to look at the wonderful gift that we can give to ourselves, those around us, and the entire world. The quest chapter today is called Your Unique Way. And the gift I'll be speaking about is the gift of being yourself, of being authentic. God created us as individuals, once in an all of the lifetime experience. Each one of us is unique. There never has been and never will be another you. Yet so many people fear their individuality. Many people spend so much time trying to be accepted in the eyes of those around them, trying to fit in, trying to be something to someone else for whatever they're looking for and they want them to be. They do life the safe way, so much so that they forget the truth of who they really are. Recently, we talked about trusting God. And when we start trusting God and when we live a God-centered life, a God-inspired life, then it naturally follows that we gain courage to take risks and be authentically who we are. In Luke chapter 5, verse 4, we are told, "Put out into the deep and let down your nets for a catch." Jesus was telling the disciples to stop playing it safe. He was telling the boys on the boat, that's what I'm calling the disciples, he was telling the boys on the boat, if you want the big catch, you'll have to go beyond your fears. Listen to my voice and move out into the deep water. They were trying to play it safe. It's been said that ships are safe in the harbor. But is that what ships are for? To stay in the harbor because it's safe there? No, ships were made to sail the open waters, to be out in the wilderness of the sea, if it were. And ships have a purpose, a mission, and so do we. Each one of us is an individual. Each of us has an individual purpose and a mission, and we cannot fulfill that purpose if, one, we are always playing it safe, or two, we are not following the voice of God as it whispers or yells the direction we are to follow. We have been on the quest journey for almost a year now. In 2 weeks, it's our final quest series. We're at the end of our quest journey. And this is what Richard and Mary Alice Jafala have to tell us in this chapter. You yourself are now marching to a different drummer. You have heard the call and launched out for the deep waters. The treasure of loving a God-guided, God-centered life is yours. You are an authentic being overflowing with the richness of your unique gifts. If you have still been occasionally casting your nets into the shallow waters, now is the time to launch out fearlessly. The nets can only be filled with the treasure when they are no longer cast where the treasure is not. I'm going to read that again. The nets can only be filled with the treasure when they are no longer cast where the treasure is not. They go on to say, push away from the shore. Fear not, for it is the way you have chosen. It is your own unique way, and it belongs to you alone. Dare to be yourself. Wow, the Jafalas are giving us permission to be ourselves. Dare to be yourself. And that involves courage and taking risks and being vulnerable and letting go of limiting thinking that so often holds us back. Daring to be yourself means letting go of the opinions of others as well. And how scary is that? Letting God's opinion of you take precedence over all that other stuff. God's opinion and mine as well is that you are precious and perfect and wonderful just as you are. Just as you were created to be. Often getting in step with God means marching to a different drummer. And that takes a willingness to change old habits and old thought patterns. There is a book, Comfortable with Uncertainty. Many of you may have heard of it. It's by Pema Chodron. And here's a quote from the book that I feel is important for us to know today. What keeps us unhappy and stuck in a limited view of reality is our tendency to seek pleasure and avoid pain, to seek security and avoid groundlessness, to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. This is how we keep ourselves enclosed in a cocoon. Our mind is always seeking zones of safety. We're in this zone of safety, and that's what we consider life. Getting it all together, security. We fear losing our illusion of security. We fear being confused and not knowing which way to turn. We want to know what's happening. The mind is always seeking zones of safety, and these zones of safety are continually falling apart. Then we scramble to get another zone of safety back together again. We spend all our energy and waste our lives trying to create these zones of safety, which are always falling apart. That's the essence of suffering, continually seeking happiness in all the wrong places. Boy, isn't that true, right? Aren't we always looking for safety, and then it falls apart and we start again? Trying to find our happiness in someone else's opinion of us is one of the wrong places that the Jafalas were talking about. There is a story by Max Lucado. I don't know if some of you have heard of it. It's called The Wemmicks. And this is a piece out of that speaks to that. The Wemmicks were small wooden people, and each of the wooden people was carved by a woodworker named Eli. His workshop sat on a hill overlooking their village. Every Wemmick was different. Some had big noses, others had large eyes, some were tall and others were short, some wore hats and others wore coats, but all were made by the same carver and all lived in the village. All day, every day, the Wemmicks did the same thing. They gave each other stickers. Each Wemmick had a box of golden star stickers and a box of gray dot stickers. Up and down the streets all over the city, people could be seen sticking stars and dots on one another. The pretty ones, those with smooth wood and fine paint, always got stars. But if the wood was rough or the paint was chipped, the Wemmicks gave dots. The talented ones got stars too. Some could lift big sticks high above their heads or jump over tall boxes. Still others knew big words or could sing pretty songs, and everyone gave them stars. Some Wemmicks had stars all over them. Every time they got a star, it made them feel so good that they did something else so they could get another star. Others, though, could do little, and they got dots. Punchinello was one of these. He tried to jump high like the others, but he always fell. And when he fell, others would gather round and give him dots. Sometimes when he fell, he would scar his wood so the people would give him more dots. He would try to explain why he fell and say something silly, and the Wemmicks would give him more dots. After a while, he had so many dots that he didn't want to go outside. He was afraid he would do something dumb and forget his hat or step in the water, and then people would give him a dot. In fact, he had so many gray dots that some people would come up and give him a dot for no reason. He deserves lots of dots, the wooden people would agree with one another. He's not a good wooden person. After a while, Punchinello believed them. I'm not a good Wemmick, he would say. A few times he went outside. He hung around other Wemmicks who had lots of dots, and this made him feel better when he was around them. One day he met a Wemmick who was unlike any he'd ever met. This is where it gets good. She had no dots or stars. She was just wooden, and her name was Lulia. It wasn't that people didn't try to give her stickers. It's just that the stickers didn't stick. And some admired Lulia for having no dots, so they would run up and give her a star, but it would fall right off. Some would look down on her for having no stars, so they would give her a dot, but the dot didn't stick either. And that's the way I want to be, said Punchinello. I don't want anyone's marks. So he asked the stickerless Wemmick how she did it. It's easy, Lulia replied. Every day I go see Eli. Eli? Yes, Eli, the wood carver. I sit in the workshop with him. Why? Why don't you go find out for yourself? Go up the hill, he's there. And with that, the Wemmick with no marks turned and skipped away. But he won't want to see me, Punchinello cried out. Lulia didn't hear him, so Punchinello went home. He sat near a window and watched the people in the town as they scurried about, giving each other stars and dots. It's not right, he muttered to himself, and he resolved to go see Eli. He walked up the narrow path to the top of the hill and stepped into the big shop. His wooden eyes widened at the size of everything. The stool was as tall as he was, and he had to stretch on his tiptoes to see the top of the workbench. A hammer was as long as his arm, and Punchinello swallowed hard. I'm not staying here, and he turned to leave. And then he heard his name. Punchinello, the voice was deep and strong. Punchinello stopped. Punchinello, how good to see you. Come, let me have a look at you. Punchinello turned slowly and looked at the large bearded craftsman. You know my name? The little Wemmick asked. Of course I do, I made you. Eli stooped down and picked him up and set him on the bench. The maker spoke thoughtfully as he inspected the gray circles. Looks like you've been given some bad marks. I didn't mean to, said Eli. I tried really hard. Oh, you don't have to defend yourself to me, child. I don't care what the other Wemmicks think. You don't? No, and you shouldn't either. Who are they to be giving you stars and dots? They're Wemmicks, just like you. What they think doesn't matter, Punchinello. All that matters is what I think, and I think you're pretty special. Punchinello laughed. Me special? Why, I can't walk fast, I can't jump, my paint is peeling. Why do I matter to you? Eli looked at Punchinello, put his hands on those small wooden shoulders, and spoke very slowly. Because you're mine, that's why you matter to me. Punchinello had never had anyone look at him like this, much less his maker, and he didn't know what to say. Every day I've spent hoping you'd come, Eli explained. I became because I met someone who had no marks. I know, she told me about you. Why don't the stickers stay on her? Because she has decided that what I think is more important than what they think. The stickers only stick if you let them. What? The stickers only stick if they matter to you. The more you trust my love, the less you care about the stickers. I'm not sure I understand. You will, but it'll take time. You've got a lot of marks. For now, just come and see me every day and let me remind you how much I care. Eli lifted Punchinello off the bench and set him on the ground. Remember, Eli said as the women walked out the door, you are special because I made you, and I don't make mistakes. Punchinello didn't stop, but in his heart he thought, I think he really means it. And when he did, a dot fell to the ground. Of course, we know what this story is about, right? We're all doing our interpretation of it. Eli is God, and of course, we are like the Wimmicks. The moral of the story is that when we show authentically who we are, that is what pleases God the most. We are asked to listen to the voice of our Creator daily, and then we are asked to be authentically who we are. From the quest this week, the people which we enjoy so much have one thing in common. They are being true to themselves. Each one is genuine, totally absorbed in what he or she is doing, and not afraid to be an authentic individual, even when it means launching into the deep waters where others do not fish. In fact, they are unique and interesting with so much to offer because they dare to cast their nets into the deep without concern for playing it safe. Haven't we all hung around with a group of people at some point in time, looked around the room and thought, everybody here is a little weird. Everyone's a little odd. Strange group of people, but we get along perfectly. We're great with one another. And why is that? It's because we're being authentically who we are. So maybe we aren't so odd after all. There are others out there that are just as odd as we are, and they're pretty cool. The Jafalas tell us they admire people who are authentically themselves. Punchinello admired the girl with no stars or dots because she marched to the beat of her own drummer. She was not affected by others' opinions of her. She met every day with her Creator, and she knew and lived the truth of herself. I made a short list of people that I admire. Otherwise, it could be a pretty extensive list. So I'll only share this short list with you, or we'd be here until dinner time. And I'm going to invite you to think about the unique gifts that these individuals have shared with the world, what their impact has made for being unique. Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, Martin Luther King Jr., Gandhi, Jesus, Della Reese. The common theme among these people is that they are either living their purpose or they authentically lived their purpose. They had a purpose. They are not fishing in the shallow waters of life. They are not afraid, as Thoreau said, to march to a different drummer. They not only hear a different beat than the masses, they live their lives not at all concerned with what anybody else was hearing. They were or are willing to take action. They are willing to take words of Jesus at face value as well. Jesus told us, you are the light of the world. He didn't say that you are the light of the world when you are trying to be someone else. He didn't say you are the light of the world when you are selling yourself short to be accepted by somebody else. He didn't say you are the light of the world when you're living in fear or compromising your purpose here. No, he said you, each one of us, is the light of the world, period. And Jesus gave us specific instructions not to hide our lights under a bushel basket. but to let that light shine in our own unique ways. Robert Frost wrote this in his famous poem, The Road Less Traveled, and it sums up a lot of what I've been talking about this morning. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a woods, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. We are quickly approaching the birth of the Christ child and the birthing of the Christ within ourselves. Let us listen to the advice of our elder brother Jesus when he told us, "You are the light of the world." Let us celebrate who we really are, beloved children of God. And remember to fish in the deep waters. Let us find joy in being authentically ourselves and bless the world by letting our great, big, wonderful lights shine. Next week, we are on chapter 47, which speaks to us on grace. And the following week is the completion of our quest journey. We've done it. We've gotten through all the Unity basics this year. Well, we've been at home. And it's been great to be on this journey with you. So does Unity of Springfield bring light into your life? Please help us keep Unity's message alive. We have ways to donate. They come online in our Zoom platform. We have it in our chat box, in our emails that go out. And so we know as we have our gifts and we're preparing to send them into the universe, we can bless our gifts. So we just take a moment and we pause and we imagine these gifts that we have in our embrace, and we just hold them in our thoughts and prayers, knowing that as we give, we receive, and that all is well. We bless these gifts, we bless the givers, and we bless the receivers, and so it is. Thank you, God. Amen. We have a special thanks today to our goodie bag stuffers, Myra, Linda, Mary, and Cindy. They spend some time putting all of this together at the church, so it is all ready for us when we have our pickup on December 6th and 7th. Thank you all for putting those together. We truly love and appreciate you. And together, if we want to say our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all truly is well. Thank you, God.